The first crack in my life didn't sound like thunder. It sounded like quiet laughter behind a half-closed door. I was 14 when I first realized my family loved silence more than truth. I had knocked on my parents' bedroom door to tell them something every child should feel safe saying. My older cousin, Amir, had cornered me earlier that day in the basement during a family gathering. His hand had wrapped around my wrist like a metal cuff, and he whispered things that didn't belong in a child's ears. I ran. I cried. Then I told my mother. She told me to stop being dramatic. So when I went to their door that night, hoping they might rethink, hoping they might look at me and see I was scared, I heard laughter. My dad's deep booming laugh, my mother's soft giggle. My story didn't matter. Their comfort did. Their peace. Their reputation. Their golden boy nephew. That was the night I learned that loyalty in my house had a price. And I was too cheap to be protected. Years passed, and my parents perfected the art of pretending. My mother ironed the walls of the house the same way she ironed her lies, smooth, flat, pressed down with enough heat to erase every wrinkle of truth. My father buried himself in work, in silence, in anything that prevented him from acknowledging the rotting space between us. I learned how to survive by shrinking. But the world doesn't reward the quiet. So I trained myself to speak. At 17, I started winning school debates. Then regional ones. Then national. Words became the armor Amir couldn't rip away from me. Every trophy I brought home was met with confusion rather than pride, as if my achievements were an insult to the silence they raised me on. Try not to show off too much, my mother would say, straightening a frame of Amir on the hallway wall. It makes you look arrogant. Arrogant. For surviving. By the time I applied for university, my resume was thick, my recommendations glowing, and my motivation bulletproof. I didn't just want to leave home, I wanted to build a world where my voice mattered. And then, just as acceptance letters started rolling in, my parents found a new way to cut me down. "We think you should wait a year," my father announced over dinner, spooning lentils onto his plate like it was an ordinary conversation. "You need to help at the store. Family comes first." A year. A delay. A chain. I felt the walls closing around me again, just like the basement years ago. "No," I said, calm but firm. "I earned this." My mother slammed her spoon. "Earned? You think you got here alone? We raised you. We fed you. We paid for your school. And now you want to abandon us like we're nothing." Abandon them? I had been living like a ghost in that house for years. But logic never wins against guilt. And they were masters of guilt. Over the next month, they sabotaged every step of my plan. My father forgot to send financial documents required for my scholarship. My mother accidentally threw away my acceptance letter from my top university, claiming she mistook it for junk mail. When I confronted her, she cried so loudly neighbors peeked outside. "How could you accuse me of something so horrible?" she wailed. "You must really hate me." I didn't. But I hated what they were doing. The breaking point came when my father threatened to kick me out if I insisted on leaving. "I won't fund your betrayal," he said coldly. "You want to go? Do it without a single cent from this family." For the first time, I realized something life-altering. I wasn't being asked to stay. I was being trapped. And trapped people eventually burn through the walls. I left home a week after high school graduation with a duffel bag, a cracked phone, and $140 in my pocket. My parents didn't say goodbye. My mother pretended I was packing for a sleepover. My father locked himself in the bedroom, again choosing silence over truth. I slept in a friend's basement for 6 months, working at a coffee shop during the day and studying at night. I missed meals, missed sleep, missed feeling human. But I didn't miss home. Because even the coldest basement felt safer than that house. By the second year, I earned enough scholarships to return to university. By the third year, I was top of my program. By the fourth, I gave a keynote speech that went viral, about resilience, about surviving the people who were supposed to love you. It reached millions. And that was when karma started knocking. My mother called first. Her voice was hesitant, fragile in a way I didn't believe for a second. "We saw your speech. We're proud of you," she said. Proud? Now that the world praised me? Now that my voice made headlines instead of conflict? Then came the request. Your father's business is struggling, she said softly. We need help. Maybe you could come home for a while? Support us? We always supported you. Always supported me. I almost laughed. But the truth was, I didn't want revenge. I wanted closure. So I agreed to visit for one day. Only one. Walking into that house felt like reopening an old wound. The walls were the same beige. The hallways still displayed framed pictures of Amir. Not one photo of me in university. Not one trophy. Not one reminder that I had built a life without them. My father sat at the dining table, shoulders slumped, hair grayed. He looked smaller somehow. We exchanged awkward greetings. So, you're doing well, he muttered. I am. You should thank us, he added bitterly. All this discipline we gave you made you strong. Discipline. He meant silence. He meant guilt. He meant survival by suffocation. I sat down across from them. You didn't make me strong, I said quietly. Surviving you did. My mother gasped. How can you speak to us like that? Like what? I asked. With honesty? They didn't want honesty. They wanted the child who kept quiet. For the next hour, they begged for help. Money. Time. Labor. Anything. And the more they talked, the more I realized something painful. They weren't apologizing. They were strategizing. Not to heal the past, but to use me to fix their future. Not to heal the past, but to use me to fix their future. My mother reached for my hand, squeezing it theatrically. Family is family, she whispered. And that was the moment the last thread snapped. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by safety. And they had never offered me that. I pulled my hand back. I'll help you, I said. Their eyes lit up, too quickly. But not with money. And not by moving home. My father frowned. Then what? I'll help by telling the truth. Silence fell like a dropped mirror. What truth? My mother whispered, voice trembling. The truth about why I left. Why I lived in a basement. Why I had to build my life alone. The truth about Amir. About what you refused to protect me from. My father stood up violently. That was years ago. And? I asked. Does time erase trauma? My mother's eyes filled with something between guilt and fear. You wouldn't, she said. Watch me, I replied. The next week, I wrote a long open letter titled, The Price of Silence. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't hateful. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply the truth. My truth. My parents had spent years sculpting a reality where my pain didn't exist. I dismantled it with 3,000 honest words. The letter spread. Not viral. Not explosive. Just steady. Like quiet footsteps of justice catching up to those who ran from it. People from my community reached out. Some shared their own stories of being silenced. Others apologized for not noticing sooner. A few relatives defended my parents at first until they realized they had no defense. My parents called again. Not with guilt this time. With fear. You're destroying our reputation, my father said. No, I answered softly. I'm reclaiming my life. My mother sobbed into the phone. How could you do this to us? How could you watch what was done to me? I replied. Silence. The kind they worshipped. In the end, I didn't ruin their lives. I revealed them. They ruined themselves. Years later, I stood on a stage again, this time receiving an award for my work advocating for youth affected by domestic silence. My career had grown, my voice finally free, my story no longer a wound, but a weapon sharpened, polished, and powerful. After the event, a young girl approached me. She had trembling hands, fear in her eyes, a story in her throat she wasn't sure she was allowed to tell. I knelt down, smiled gently, and said the sentence I once needed desperately. You're safe here. You can speak. And she did. And right then, I realized something. My revenge was never about destroying my parents. It was about saving someone else from becoming me.